All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us today on today's webinar. It's really nice of you all to be able to make it. As I hope you're aware, today we're going to be talking about maximizing marketing and thought leadership with apps. There'll be a couple of presenters. So I'm Ian Broom, I'm the CEO of Fliplet, and I'll be presenting with a friend of mine and the founder of Meridian West. Ben, would you like to say a few words?
Hi everyone, thanks Ian. Yeah, so great to be involved in this, kind of a shared passion as thought leadership and using technology to make it more effective. So thanks a lot for inviting me.
No, you're very welcome. Okay, so today we'll be covering a few topics. So firstly, I'm going to cover off a number of new elements that Fliplet's introducing, including our new marketing template capabilities, where I'm going to give you a bit of a demo of some of the features that we're working on. Keep in mind that they're all in progress. So what I'm showing you today is kind of an early release. And I'm also going to run through a couple of quick case studies just to bring some of the example features and plans that we have to life. And then Ben is going to talk a little bit about how technology can enhance thought leadership and some case studies, as well as some thoughts that Meridian West has on how technology can be used to complement thought leadership. And I'll let Ben talk a little bit more about Meridian West when we get to his section later on in the presentation. The total presentation will take about 60 minutes, and we will have time for Q&A at the end. So in case anybody is new to Zoom, which I imagine most people are very well versed with Zoom by now, but just to be on the safe side, you can ask questions at any time in chat. So don't try to remember your question. Just pull up the chat feature in Zoom, write your question down, and a couple of my colleagues from Fliplet will be ready and able to confirm your question and then present it to us when we get to the Q&A stage. Please stay on mute. Everybody has already successfully done that, but just in case you're unsure, yeah, we don't expect you to be coming off mute at any time during the webinar. I think most people have their cameras turned off as well, but you can turn your camera off. And I've highlighted in a bit of a screenshot of Zoom which options you need to use. And you can see there that the video and the mute button should have a little red line through them. And you can see the chat button there if you want to ask questions. Okay, so a quick overview of Fliplet. So Fliplet is a prefab app builder. What that means is that you can very rapidly build web and mobile apps with Fliplet, mostly without code. But we do enable our customers to use common web technologies if they want to customize their app at any point. And the great thing about using web technologies is most people already have these in-house. But of course, we can help you customize your app if you'd like our assistance as well. We have a broad set of existing drag and drop features available in Fliplet. So therefore, it's very easy to customize your app and get it looking just the way that you want. Once your app is ready, you can distribute your app to desktop, mobile, or tablet via the public app stores, or you can distribute it privately to your internal app stores. We also support web apps, which means you can distribute your apps through just using a URL. And Fliplet is fully enterprise grade. So what that means is that when your IT team asks us to pass an InfoSec questionnaire, we will pass, and we will often pass with flying colors. And so we look after everything from the security side to the infrastructure, to the hosting, to the servers. You don't have to do anything. This helps Fliplet not only to get your apps up and live faster, but it also helps to remove stress and burden from you. So let me talk now a little bit about Fliplet's new client marketing app template. So what can it be used for? Fliplet's new marketing template can be used for a whole suite of different marketing use cases, including promoting a practice, service, or product, content or thought leadership, marketing or awareness campaign, reference or guide for your clients, comparison, such as how do I compare to the market or how do I compare to my peers, education, such as e-learning, and interactive tools such as calculators, checklists, and other capabilities. And I'll be demoing some of them later on. Now, these are all very exciting use cases, but why worry about them now? Well, we've been talking with a lot of marketing departments over the last few months as we've been preparing this template, and we've realized that a lot of existing marketing channels have really stopped being as effective as they once were. So no longer can you hold events, as I'm sure everybody knows. No longer can a partner or a senior manager or a salesperson just pop out for breakfast, lunch, or dinner with a client. No longer can you post them any printed material, because often you won't have their home address and they won't be going to the office. And in many cases, you won't even be able to call them on the telephone unless they've given you their cell or mobile number. Because a lot of people haven't directed their desk phone in their office to their personal mobile or their work mobile at home. So what this has meant that it's left a lot of marketing teams with very few channels to work with. In this case, it's typically email, web, and of course apps, and webinars, digital events. There may be a couple of other channels as well, but the total number of channels that organizations are used to using has been significantly reduced. And I think, as everybody is now well aware, we're not all going to be rushing back to the office. So therefore, a lot of these channels are not going to become available to us, say, within the next 4 to 6 months. Therefore, if you're trying to do marketing at the moment, you're really looking for, well, what can I do that's different? How can I engage my audience in new ways? Because the number of mediums that I can use is restricted. So how do companies currently market? When I did my own research, I thought that a lot of marketing departments were predominantly using email and their website. But it turns out that the vast majority of people I spoke to, their primary marketing channel was actually PDF files, which they would then generally attach to an email as a form of distribution, but they might also put them on the website. But ultimately, it came down to the PDF was the primary method of creating new marketing material and then distributing it. And so I took this as a personal challenge. I said to my colleagues, if we're going to produce a great marketing template, it has to be better than PDF, which on the one hand, you could say, well, that doesn't set the bar very high. Or you could say, on the other hand, that sets the bar extremely high because everybody in the company can produce PDF files. So you're telling me if you're going to compete with PDF, everybody's going to be able to produce them. So you'll obviously have to be the judge towards the end of today's webinar as to whether or not I've achieved the objective. But of course, email is the second most common form of marketing, which is, it can be a marketing or a personal email, of course. Not all emails have to be HTML sent via your email marketing software. They can just be sent via Outlook or Gmail directly to the client. Web pages are very common, although not every piece of marketing I've learned necessarily ends up with a web pages, and even more rare are microsites, which I found most organizations are only doing a few of them a year. And arguably, I would say most organizations were kind of reluctant to do microsites because of the cost and the time, and then the complexity of retiring them. So coming back to my comment about PDF, like what are the pros and what are the cons? So I think in all fairness to PDF, the pros are they're quick and easy to produce, costs can be controlled, organizations are very comfortable with the technology. I mean, you can produce a PDF straight out of Word. They are very easy to distribute. I just attach it to an email and send, gone. And it supports email marketing, the primary form of marketing. So it's incredibly compatible with existing marketing channels. The cons are limited interactivity, limited long-term value. So once I consume a PDF, I might go back to it, but I generally won't. Limited differentiation from other campaigns and competitors' campaigns. I've heard this quite a bit as kind of the number of marketing channels has been reduced. The kind of competition to get your PDF read has increased because it's become a more common medium for distributing marketing material. And as we all know, differentiation in PDFs is difficult. Everybody's got the same tools. And then finally, there's really limited usability from PDFs, especially on smartphones. Whereas one firm told me they get about 30% of their web traffic on mobile or smartphone. And PDFs have a kind of a pinch to zoom, scroll horizontally, smartphone type interaction experience, which they know will probably mean that their PDF files are not getting the level of engagement and consumption that other forms could achieve. So they're the pros and cons of PDFs. What we then did is we took a step back after we understood what marketing channels our customers are using. And we said, well, what do customers or clients or users really want from marketing? And we came up with this list. So initially, they want highly relevant information customized on their preferences. Like they want to get the information that's most relevant to them. They want their content to be engaging and useful, and they want to be entertained and enjoy the experience. They want really easy and quick access. They want to have instant access on any device. They don't want to have to be saying, oh, on this device, it's a great experience, but on this device, it's a poor experience. They just want to be able to use whatever device they've got to hand. They want to be able to quickly find the most relevant information, and they want to be able to share interesting information very easily with other people, whether that be other people in their business or other customers of theirs that might be interested. They want to receive advice to help them make decisions. They want to learn about new and relevant topics. They want to be able to easily compare themselves to others, particularly if the type of content supports comparison. So thought leadership material, where it's often based on research, is a perfect example of where you would want to do a comparison. And then finally, they want to be able to easily contact somebody if they want more information, which is of course critical in professional services. And then finally, they want to be encouraged. They don't want to have to feel like this is a slog to engage with your material. So they want to be able to kept up to date when information changes, preferably through some form of notifications, whether that's email or push, so that they can easily go in and make sure that they're up to date. But they also want to receive positive reinforcement about their choices. So when they're doing something, they want to feel like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. This is good. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we're achieving all of this later on. And then finally, and arguably in many cases, more importantly, what do the companies that are producing the marketing material want? Well, they want clear business benefits, such as the ability to generate business. They want their solutions to be beautiful and branded, and they want to differentiate strongly from their competitors. They don't want to get confused with a competitor. They want maintenance to be really quick and easy. They want to be able to collect insights from users so they know what maintenance they should be doing. They want to be able to shut solutions down easily, which obviously is a huge benefit of PDF. You just send it out. There's no ongoing requirement. But one of the big problems I mentioned with microsites is that they are hard to retire. There's an ongoing expectation. So I think in order for marketing to be as easy as PDF, you've got to be able to turn it off when it suits you. And they've got to be able to control costs. Companies also want their end users to engage. So they want high levels of user engagement, but they also want that engagement sustained over a long period of time. And then finally, they want virality. So they want the content to be shared and promoted by users. And of course, they want to do all of this while ensuring that they comply with relevant privacy legislation. So ultimately, what Fliplet has tried to create with our marketing template is after a customer has the content ready to go, we want to strive to enable them to prepare an app on Fliplet that will take their content and enable it to be promoted to users in an hour. And I think that that's roughly how long an organization would potentially take to create a PDF. Although if people would like to tell me that it takes them longer, I will feel better, because it means we have more time in which we can enable marketers to be effective with our new app. So let's say that we take this 1 hour seriously. How is Fliplet going to enable you to be effective in just 1 hour? So we're going to do a number of innovative things with our new template. The first is we're going to make it incredibly fast for you to upload your content. And we're going to do that by providing Word and Excel templates, or if the data already exists inside a database in your organization, you can connect that existing data source up to Fliplet with just a little piece of software that generally takes about 30 minutes for an IT person to configure. After the content is uploaded, you'll be very, very easily able to brand this. And you can see a screenshot on the side of our theme appearance settings. And you can see, you can just pick a couple of key colors and set the key fonts. In most of the time, it takes about 5 minutes for a customer to set 90% of the brand settings in a Fliplet app. And then finally, once you're happy, of course, you're going to have stakeholders that need to review it just like a PDF file. So we're going to give you the ability to instantly test and deploy. You can immediately gain access to this app on web and mobile. So you can literally send them a URL to stakeholders and ask them, please review this. And as soon as you're happy with that, you can start distributing the web app. if you want a mobile app, due to the constraints placed on us by app stores, we recommend that people assume it's going to take about 48 hours to get the app live. It's generally about 4 hours with Google Play, and it can be up to 2 days with Apple or iOS apps. But I think anybody on this call who's worked with Fliplet is probably already aware of this because it's fairly standard. And you can see here, there's an example of the quiz content template. This is one of the features I'll be showing you later on. So it's very easy for people to put comments in. And as one of our customers that we spoke about this template with requested, the benefit of Word is, of course, you can use track changes with your colleagues to ensure that all of the changes are approved before you go loading the content into the app. So what about maintenance? How are you going to maintain this content and ensure that the content continues to be up to date? Well, we've optimized that as well. So we've ensured that marketing team and stakeholders can update the content directly in the app. What this means is that with one tap, your stakeholders and your staff, assuming you give them access, will be able to go to an admin screen, and from there, they'll be able to maintain the content. So literally, you could have senior managers doing this on their commute, or maybe during lockdown from their back porch. And analytics is also going to be available directly within the app. So what this means is that your stakeholders, as well as the marketing team, will literally be able to see how many people have used this app in the last week. So one of the points of friction we've heard is that, yeah, great, we have lots of analytics, but then I have to prepare it and share it with my stakeholders. Not anymore. Now your stakeholders, assuming they have admin access to the app, they can literally anytime they want see the usage data without you having to be an intermediary. So I think that this will not only make it easier for stakeholders to see the usage data, but it will also increase the likelihood that stakeholders will want to make changes to the app because they can see what users are doing. And then finally, what about retiring the app? So what I suggest, and this is just a suggestion, but what I would suggest when it's ready, when it's time to retire the app, just update the app to redirect to a relevant web page, for example, the product or service page that is relevant to the app, and then just take it down. From that point onwards, it'll basically have a message if anybody loads it, explaining what's happened to the app, and it will now be offline. So you won't have any ongoing responsibility. Okay, now time for a demo. So I'm going to switch tabs, and I'm going to jump over into Fliplet Studio. So this is the product that allows you to produce apps. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is the editing interface, but I'm not going to be showing you the editing interface today because, well, as you can see, it's quite complicated, but I'm also not going to be showing it because I'm not going to be making any changes. I'm just going to be demoing the current capabilities. So when I switch over to preview mode, I can turn this sidebar off because we won't need it. You can see I can see the app here. As I've already mentioned, Fliplet supports multiple devices. So if I want to see what this looks like on tablet, I click there. And if I want to see what it looks like on computer, I click there. So I'm going to focus this around mobile because this is the platform that most of our customers purchase Fliplet for. But we do support the others, as I've mentioned a couple of times. So let's start with the preferences screen. Now, the preferences screen may look slightly boring, but don't let that fool you. It's incredibly powerful and absolutely critical to achieving some of the requirements that I set earlier in the presentation. First thing is you can turn on push notifications. This enables you to send the user notifications on their mobile phone. Without enabling this, Apple and Android phones will not allow you to remotely send notifications. Once notifications are enabled, you can then configure how, or the user can configure how they want notifications to be received. And because we're targeting mostly enterprise users in Fliplet, we've enabled email and SMS as well. So basically, by sending a notification to the app or uploading new content into your app that automatically triggers a notification, a user can receive email and SMS, whatever they prefer. And of course, they can turn off SMS if they find it annoying, and they can turn off app notifications and just stick with the tried and true corporate email if that's what they want. You can also configure which categories of news or content or events are interested and click Save. This will mean we only tell you about content that you care about. We will never, ever tell you about something that you're not interested in. Moving on. Reference content. So our reference content screen, often in kind of multinational professional service organizations, will be grouped based on either products or services or potentially countries. Countries make a good example because they have pretty flags. So as you can see here, we've got some nice international content. I can search, so I can type in Asia, and I can see that I haven't configured the search settings well. I can bookmark some items and ask it to just show me the things that I care about. And I can also filter by only the Europe or only North America or only Asia Pacific. Now, the search, the bookmarks, and the filter capability are all standard features in Fliplet. So the benefit of this is once I've loaded in my content, I don't have to do anything else to get these features. They already exist. Let's say that I wanted something slightly more interactive than just some content. Here I can have a checklist which helps the user of the app convert the information into action. So in this case, it's about a tax return, a topic that most people will be familiar with. And it goes through and asks a series of questions and enables me to ensure that I've done everything that's required. Once I'm done with this checklist, I can email myself a copy and I can clear it so that I can use it again next time or with the next project. Checklists are really easy to create. You just need a list of what things do you want. They take about 5 minutes. This whole screen takes about 5 minutes to build. Let's talk about something slightly more exotic, a calculator. Now, I haven't done a particularly complicated calculation example here. As you can see, I've got some taxable income and a tax rate. Just to demonstrate that calculators are possible. Obviously, if a calculator is relevant, I'm sure you will understand what you want to calculate. And if I click calculate, I get the result. It explains how it calculated the result, so it explains what the calculator is doing from an education perspective. I can then share the result with myself via email, or I can email it to the organization that produced the app if it was something that I wanted their assistance with. And so by being quite upfront, email it to XYZ law firm or email it to XYZ consulting organization, I'm being quite clear that like this data has not been sent to the organization that produced this unless you want it to. Let's talk about an example that's quite near and dear to Ben's heart, pulse surveys. So as you'll see, when Ben runs through some of his case studies, he'll talk a little bit about pulse surveys. So to kind of demonstrate how they would work in Fliplet, quickly put one together. So here's one that talks about AI in litigation, and it just has 3 quick questions. Once I complete these questions, I click submit. And then I can see here, okay, this is your result, and this is the opportunity for improvement. It's produced a nice little chart. And then down the bottom here, it's given me an individual breakdown. This is your answer. This is the benchmark or everybody else. And this is how you compare. Again, the ability to share results. And I can revisit this screen at any time to see if the benchmark has changed, because the benchmark is collecting data from all other users of the app. So it's almost a live updating benchmark. We spoke about education. Here's a quick example of our quiz capability. So I can run through and I can quickly tell the app, oh, I got one right. I can quickly answer a series of questions, and then it'll tell me a score. And it'll give me some guidance. Well, now that you've assessed yourself, why don't you go and do these other things in the app? So the app not only is giving me personalized feedback, and this result gets stored in the app in case I want to revisit it and do the quiz again at a later point in time, but it also cross-sells other sections of the app that are relevant to the fact that I've used this feature. So as you can see, there are many other screens built into this app. I don't have time today to go through them all, but this gives you a bit of a taste of what's coming. So let me talk about a quick couple of case studies. So the first is the Eversheds Employment and Pensions app. So the Eversheds Employment and Pensions app includes content for just over 45 jurisdictions across 5 different continents in relation to employment and pensions. It enables people to browse and compare jurisdictions, share and print results. It includes a directory of lawyers. It includes information about the employment and pension services. It has news, and it's available on all the different app stores, including web, as you can see from the screenshot. So this is an example of a reference app. The next app that I'd like to talk to you about is the Crame 11 Adlit Report app. This is an advertising litigation report. So this is reference information as well as news in relation to the industry. It includes a detailed searchable archive of past reports. It also promotes events, in this case webinars, and you can also view all of the historic webinars via the app. So it's got an archive of video content as well as an archive of report content. It includes a directory of lawyers, a checklist for preparing and responding to a privacy incident, and a quiz regarding FTC regulations for advertising. So quite an extensive set of features. I'm sure from these two quick case studies, you get a bit of a feel for kind of the breadth of capabilities that our customers are including in these types of apps. Now, hopefully you're getting excited at Fliplet's upcoming capabilities. And when we launched a new app a few months ago, one of the things we failed to do was set expectations with customers clearly, resulting in our customer success team receiving lots of inquiries about when's it going to be ready. So in case you're interested, right now you can contact Fliplet and we can send you a detailed app plan. This outlines all the capabilities, how they're going to work, what are the benefits, etc. Quite a few of the capabilities I've covered on today's call, but as you saw from the demo, there are many more features coming. The beta is due in August, and the final version of this app is available in September. So if you'd like to start playing with it, sharing it with your stakeholders, becoming familiar, you'll be able to do that in August. And just get in contact with Fliplet if you'd like to be notified as soon as it's available. So now I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Ben, who's going to tell us a bit about Meridian West. Ben, you're on mute. Hang on, I'll let you unmute. And I think, Ben, you need to request a kind of access to my computer so that you can drive the slides. There you go, thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, there you go. You should be able to click and take it away.
Smashing. So yeah, my name is Ben Kent. I'm the founder of Meridian West and a director there. So I was going to talk kind of quite specifically about the thought leadership. So by thought leadership, we mean kind of content, usually kind of research based, and how so technology has really revolutionized thought leadership. And look, so I get to the next slide. Oh, sorry. So there's a number of clients on the line, but before I sort of dive into the content, I'm just going to give an introduction to Meridian West. So we were set up in 2001. We're a research consultancy. We specialize in professional services, and you can see quite a few of our clients here. So it's law firms, accountancy firms, property consultancies, and we offer three services. So thought leadership research, which I'm going to talk about today, market strategy research, and client feedback. And here's just some of our kind of recent campaigns that we've done. You see for PwC, EY, Grant Thornton, across a broad range of topics. So quite fun, interesting work to do. So what I was going to talk about is kind of four things. First of all, the kind of thirst for insight, particularly since kind of COVID. So we're collecting the views of clients all the time. And we're going to share with you what their expectations are about from professional services firms, what's the topics that are high on their agenda. Then I'm going to talk about the three challenges for thought leadership. You know, the need to be more agile, the need for more personal content for clients, and also the need to engage your own staff. And then I'm going to talk through technology and some of the case studies, and then we'll wrap up with a Q&A. So let's start with the kind of thirst for insight. One of the things we're picking up from the market is clients are really expecting their professional firms to provide them with insight. You know, I think many firms are seeing kind of massive uptake in terms of webinar attendance and downloads of reports and integration. But I think the kind of challenge is that the agenda is moving on. And so we have a kind of series of kind of topics and how those are evolving. And I think particularly at the moment, we're moving from kind of response mode where people are focusing on the immediate crisis, furloughing, cash flow, refinancing. And some of the topics which are relevant to them now are around recovery and kind of transformation. So these are kind of good campaign topics for future thought leadership and providing some sort of guidance. And I think the other challenge is that kind of there's just so a wall of content at the moment from professional firms. So how do the expectations are kind of rising? So these are the kind of three challenges we see. I think the first challenge is around agility. So I think traditionally thought leadership campaigns can take some months and months and months, a very thoughtful, almost academic type of content. But that's just not acceptable now because the agenda is moving on so quickly. And also there's an issue about kind of the speed and the cost of delivery. You need to be able to turn things around quickly and cheaply. I think the second issue is kind of personalization for clients. So, clients are in a very different positioning depending on their kind of financial sort of status. They might be in crisis mode, or they might be looking at transformation or opportunities. And how do you make that content directly relevant to them? And then the third and probably most significant issue is too often thought leadership is something that goes onto the website. It doesn't get the full integration of staff and partners. And really what we need is for sort of staff to take this and have conversations with their clients. And I think what's good actually is that actually the crisis has, I think, will result in better thought leadership, more focused, more thoughtful. And I think the other thing is that technology has really evolved in the last 10 to 15 years. So we have been using technology and thought leadership, 15 years ago, but it's now reached a level that it's really effective. And so I'm going to be talking about not just how Fliplet can work, and we've already seen that from Ian's presentation about how you can use it for surveys and benchmarks, but some other technologies you might want to consider. So Flourish for data visualization, Qualtrics for surveys and dashboards, and Appraisy for dashboards and benchmarking. So let's start with that kind of need to be more agile. I'm going to talk about a kind of case study. So what we're seeing is firms are moving towards a more pulse survey approach. In other words, rather than one long survey, is lots of short, sharp surveys that focus on topical issues. And the real benefit of this is, first of all, you can keep abreast of the changing agenda in the business environment. And also you can provide a kind of regular flow of content. So this is one example of some of the CEO Pulse survey, which we've been involved with for many, many years now. And as you can see, there's pulses on all sorts of different topics, on crisis, disruptors, purpose, climate change. And we get really good responses. We do run this globally amongst global CEOs, 500 responses. You can do it every month or two. We use Qualtrics technology to do this. But the key thing is you need to make it really topical and really succinct and engaging for people to do. But the benefit is you get this very nice regular flow of content. The other kind of great technology you can use is kind of data visualizations. I'm going to be talking a bit about Flourish. I'm going to show you how that works. What Flourish does is it's a way of visualizing research data, and you can put this onto the website and create really nice interactive data visualizations. It looks great, and also it enables people to interact with the data. So I'm just going to show you an example of that. Ian, how do I get access to the internet?
Yep, just hang on. There we go.
Yeah. So here we are. This is Flourish. So this is taken from the research we do, which is called Business Buyers Barometer. But as you can see, you can make it so dynamic, and you can interact with it. So you can show different, you can focus in on different data points. So that's one really nice visualization, and it just is based on research data. Another one, is, so each of these is a particular company that has responded to a survey. So 753 companies about their use of professional advisors. But what we can do here is we can interact with the data. So I say I want to look at that, how that splits down by job. I can also look at two metrics. I can look at job and turnover. So it's quite a nice way, rather than just getting us a PDF report, of interacting with the data, seeing it in a different way, and beginning to get that level of interactivity that people really like. And so this works really well. You can use it in conference presentations, and so you can have it up on the screen or just sort of scrolling around, or you can have it on a website as where people engaging, and then you get them to download additional reports. So Ian, can I go back to the main presentation?
Are you wanting to go to the next slide? There you go.
Yeah. As well as data visualizations, the other way that technology can be used is for benchmarking tools. We've had a lot of success in this recently with Big Four firms, Magic Circle firms. So the concept here is you ask people to take a survey, but rather than just giving aggregated results, you can enable them to benchmark themselves against their peer group. So the way this works is you've got survey data completed here, so they can either be short kind of quiz type surveys or much more in-depth focus on performance. We then use the Prezi dashboards, which then analyze the results and enables you to kind of instantly produce benchmarks. And that can be used in a couple of ways. I think first of all, it can be used to create personal benchmarks for BD meetings. So the way this works best is you create those benchmarks and then you give it to the partner, and then the partner takes it to their prospect or their client, and they sit down and walk through that client's particular results, and they can interact with it and show how that organization, let's say Credit Suisse, compares to other wealth managers. You can pick your peer group. So it really elevates thought leadership to a strategic tool rather than simply nice to know kind of attitudinal information. It takes a bit of design to get this right, because you need to evolve your questions to focus on quite hard benchmarks. But if you get it right, it's incredibly powerful. The second user case is this works well if you've got multiple offices or service lines, and each one of those wants a cut of the data. So one Big Four client, they do a Latin America conference. So very easily, what they can do is they can slice the data that I want to look at Latin America respondents, and they can export it into PowerPoint, and that takes a click of a button, really. It takes an hour or two rather than a week. So I'm just going to show you now how that works. Ian, maybe if you can help me again. So this is the Prezi dashboard. So this is a demo that we've developed. So it's a fictitious study, but we've called this the finance function benchmark. So what we've done here is we've taken the question sets and we've used that to create a kind of balance scorecard, if you like. So let's imagine, how does the finance function perform on innovation, technology, strategic alignment, technology, people, leadership, and investor relations. And we design questions that give you meaningful benchmarks. Now, the nice thing you can then do is you can then go in and interrogate the data. So say, well, I'm interested in, I know, European law firms, and I'm going to go for the smaller ones. Let me just press this button here, and it shows you how European smaller law firms compares to their peer group. So you can have an awful lot of fun with this, and it enables you to slice and dice it for particular audiences. Now, the other nice piece of functionality here is let's say I'm speaking to Adam from Yahoo, who's done this research. I just put in there his details here, press update, and that has shown you that's Adam here in the blue. So you can see that Adam does really well for innovation and leadership. And we've got a green bag report here, is much weaker for strategic alignment and technology. Now, this is absolute gold dust for business development opportunities, because you know exactly where you can potentially be helping Adam, and it's of immense value to Adam because he can pick his peer group and see how he compares, and that's information which is really hard for them to get, and particularly in this market when the market's changing so quickly, everyone's desperate to know what an else is up to. What you can also do is if you go up here, you can you can look at, you can interrogate the data. Ian, so I'm not being able to, I can't actually reach
app do you want to see?
Yeah.
Which one?
Technology, I think. Or no, take me to the benchmark one at the end.
Okay, there we go.
So what you could then do is, if you want more detail, you can drill into it and say, look, okay, you know, Adam is weak on the use of technology. You've got the global average, their peer group, and then Adam's responses. But what you can then do is to help your partner have a kind of good business development conversation. What's the firm's point of view on that particular issue? What do they think a good technology implementation would look like? And also, what sort of services that the firm offers around here and who's the experts? So that information put in front of a partner makes it super easy to identify Adam's issues and what expertise and capabilities they've got internally. And then it makes it much easier to make the sale. And can we go back to the slides now? So I suppose what kind of in conclusion, what we're saying here is that there's lots of sort of technology that can help with sort of thought leadership. I think the kind of benefits of providing kind of interactivity, but I think Fliplet also has many of these capabilities, and you know, at a simple level, can quickly provide surveys, instant benchmarks, personalizations. And so if you want to do, particularly for something which is a kind of nice simple pulse survey, Fliplet has great capabilities. If you want something which is a bit more advanced, a full-blown benchmark, that's when it's appropriate to use things like Deprezi or Flourish. Ian, anything else you'd add to at this point?
Only the price aspect, I guess, considering that 0.4 stands out quite clearly. And again, Ben, you have more visibility over price in the other tools. I'm not sure how we compare. Yeah,
perfect. So just to sort of summarize, I think what we're seeing is there's definitely a thirst for insight at the moment from clients, but they're being more selective about the content they want to engage with. The content needs to be engaging and personal, but the technology can really help your thought leadership stand out. It can help with automating the survey itself, so you can quickly produce pulse surveys. You can use it for data visualizations, and you can use it for benchmarking. So it really kind of takes thought leadership to the next level. Thanks, Ian.
Excellent. Thanks, Ben. Okay, cool. Well, I think we've had a couple of questions posted. I'll ask my colleague Chris if he's here to come off mute and share with us any questions. But just, yeah, go for it, Chris.
No, sorry. Yeah, I'm certainly here, and I'm now. Yeah, I've got 3 for you, Ian, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So the first one is you said the template is full of features. So do we have to use all of them, or are they easy to turn on and off? So basically, can you use all the features, or can you just take some of them?
That's a great question. Yeah, so as the case studies highlighted, our customers generally cherry pick the features that are most relevant. And I think like Ben's case studies of also other technology also highlight that there's a certain focus needs to be around kind of delivering the highest value features. You don't just want to feature stuff. Ben, do you have anything to add on that comment?
No, Ian, I think you covered it.
Okay. Yeah, so no, you could definitely turn them off, and you can also leave them off in Fliplet and then enable them at a later point in time if you want to, if, for example, content's not ready or it hasn't been reviewed yet.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ian. I've got quite a long one now just come in, so I'm going to give this one to you. So can you talk a little bit more about third-party integrations? So, for example, if the app is used for event registration, can the registrants be automatically be added to Pardo or Salesforce? And for analytics, can app analytics be integrated with Google Analytics?
Yep, so Fliplet already has a Google Analytics integration, so that's easy. And in relation to integration with other tools such as Salesforce, Pardo, or pretty much anything else, we've got a number of options about how the integration can work. We do offer API integration, and we have previously done a Salesforce integration, so we can easily bring that to the project. We also have the ability, depending on what type of data that you want to integrate with, and this was kind of one of Ben's points on his Fliplet slide, you can also embed third-party technologies into a Fliplet app. So one of the kind of comments Ben said is Fliplet is great for simple surveys, but he might recommend Qualtrics for more sophisticated surveys. What you can do is you can take the more sophisticated survey that you built in a third-party tool, in this case Qualtrics, and you can embed it into Fliplet. And then finally, in relation to data export from Fliplet, let's say that you didn't want a real-time integration between Fliplet and third-party tools, but what you wanted to do is, this is a great example of where Flourish would come into it. You've used a Fliplet app to collect data. Now you want to use Flourish to produce some really sexy data visualizations. What you can do is also just do a bulk export from Fliplet. So you can export the data, import it into downstream tools, Flourish, Salesforce, Pardo. Particularly if you don't need the real-time integration, then the added benefit is you don't have the complexities of having to kind of test that and get like API keys and things like this set up beforehand. You can just extract the data when you want it, upload it into another tool, build what you need, and if you wanted to embed it back in.
Fantastic, thank you, Ian. I've got a couple more if that's okay. I think we're okay for time. It's a question regarding Zoom and Fliplet. So how or can you embed Zoom within the app, and how would that work? So if you want to track attendees, for instance, can you track who is attending, so name, title, company, etc., without having them log in?
Yeah, so yes, I was looking this up for another customer the other day. And again, this kind of relates to the integration point I was just talking about. It turns out Zoom, particularly the webinar version of Zoom, you can embed the Zoom player directly into other web pages. And Fliplet uses web technologies, so that includes Fliplet. So you can embed the Zoom call directly into a web app. And in order to gain access to that Zoom call or webinar, you can put a registration form in your app. So you basically collect the information before they get there, but it doesn't mean the information about the user is passed to Zoom. It's only collected by Fliplet and then made available to the organization.
Fantastic, thank you. And one more, which will be from an existing customer. Will the marketing app be available on the bronze package within Fliplet? Yep.
Yeah, it'll be available to all users, paid and free users. Just obviously different plans have different capabilities about what you can then do with those apps.
That's it. Thank you, Ian. I've got one more very quick one if we've got time.
Mm-hmm.
So if a survey is updated, can a participant be informed when more data is added and therefore the results or benchmark change?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's actually a really critical kind of enhancement. I guess, Ben, you might have something to add to this in a second, but yes, so every time, say, data is contributed into the app that would alter your benchmark, the Fliplet app can notify the user and say your benchmark data has been updated. Go in and have a look. Ben, you've obviously spoken about exposing data and giving people access to survey information. Is that something that Meridian West has done on any projects to date? And how are you doing that? And how do you avoid annoying people to make sure that they're not just getting constantly told, somebody submitted a new response, somebody submitted a new response?
Yeah, you need to give a bit of thought to this. So the way we normally do it is, we don't give people, the first few respondents don't get access to the benchmark because they might be benchmarking like against 5 to 10 people. So typically what we do is we do a kind of blitz of the survey right up front, get a really solid benchmark, 100 or 200 responses, and at that stage they can see their kind of personal benchmark. We do try and make that as quick as possible, so you've got that kind of instant gratification. Then once you've done that big survey, is we kind of keep the link open, so you can then kind of carry on adding to the database. So with one client we're doing at the moment, a Magic Circle firm, we're doing a project on legal tech. They have an open link, so if they're going to meet a client, they can send that link ahead of the meeting, they can complete it, and then you've got the benchmark kind of right away. It takes a bit of thought, but it can be really effective.
That's a great idea. So basically that means that the BD person or the lawyer can show up at the meeting already kind of having benchmarked the client against the broader database.
Exactly. And so we kind of, what we're also seeing is rather than the thought leadership being a kind of one-off, it's a kind of ongoing tool. So you can almost integrate it into kind of account management. You know, you said benchmark, so we're going to meet with you, have an account meeting. We're going to benchmark you versus your peer group, and you do this as an annual thing. I know Citigroup do this with their treasury clients, so they use it every year. And more you're adding to the data, you're getting more and more insights. It becomes a real asset, if you like.
Okay. Are there any other questions, Chris?
One very quick one for you is, are we able to capture people's information in order to follow up with them?
Yes, definitely. So one of the features that I didn't show because it's just a form is an inquiry form. And I did demonstrate that there was the email organization. Obviously, the organization name would be replaced with the kind of company's name. But basically, if they click that, say after completing the calculator, that data can get sent over as a lead to the company. Not only saying, you know, John Smith completed this, but you also get the data that came out of the calculation. So you can be a lot more helpful in responding to the inquiry.
And ditto from the kind of thought leadership survey, we generally give people the option of whether being anonymous or attributed. You need to be a bit thoughtful from that about GDPR, but obviously the benefit of attributing your answers is you can get the specific benchmarks. So the answer is yes.
Yeah. Superb. Thank you, guys. That concludes the questions.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate you being the kind of MC. So Fliplet has a couple of upcoming webinars that might be of interest, including technology trends for mid-market firms, an upcoming update on our feature roadmap, and a webinar in relation to how to integrate Fliplet with other legal tech solutions. And if you'd like more information about that, you can visit fliplet.com/webinars. And Meridian West has some interesting existing content, as well as a number of upcoming webinars and events. They have information on planning an effective campaign, and they have information about your autumn communication plan and identifying the right topics, which I have a feeling Ben may have given us a bit of a sneak peek into with his earlier slide. But if you'd like more information about Meridian West or to attend some of their upcoming webinars, you can go to meridianwest.co.uk/events. So thank you very much, everybody. If anybody on this call missed anything or wanted to share any key points with their colleagues, we will be uploading a recording and we'll be emailing that out to all registered attendees once it's online, at latest tomorrow, I imagine. With that, I think Ben and I are done, and we'd like to thank you very much for attending this webinar.